teaching you how to make my all-time favorite coffee cake. This is loaded with cinnamon and sugar, and we're using a secret ingredient today, which is Greek yogurt. If you've never cooked with Greek yogurt, you definitely should. It keeps the coffee cake super light and moist and makes it really delicious. This recipe is considered a quick bread because you use baking soda and baking powder rather than having to use yeast for the dough to rise. This is a really easy and simple, it can be either a breakfast or like a coffee cake to have for a dessert or a snack. I hope that you'll stick around and consider subscribing. I have lots more delicious dessert recipes coming at you soon. To make this recipe, you'll first need half a cup of unsalted room temperature butter. Add that to a mixing bowl along with 1 cup of granulated sugar. Beat the butter and the sugar together using a mixer until it's pale and light in color, about 2 minutes. Properly beating your butter and sugar together helps give airiness and lightness to your coffee cake, so don't cut this time short. Next, we're adding in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract along with 2 large eggs. Give this mixture another mix just until everything is well combined. Next, we're moving on to the dry ingredients. You'll need to sift together 2 cups of all-purpose flour along with 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. While it is an extra step to sift everything together, it's just an added layer to help give lightness and tenderness to the coffee cake. Now for the next step, we are going to alternate adding in a bit of the dry ingredients, mixing those together, and then alternating in with some whole milk plain Greek yogurt. We're using 1 cup in total, but it's best to alternate these 2 ingredients so that way the batter doesn't get too thick while you're mixing it. And don't forget, always use low speed when you're adding in flour so that way it doesn't shoot out everywhere and make your counter a big mess. Once you've mixed all the ingredients until they're incorporated, we are now going to move on to the next step, which is creating our topping. You'll use the remaining 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, along with 3/4 cup of light brown sugar and 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. This topping is going to go in the middle of the coffee cake as well as on top to give us multiple layers of that sugary goodness. This recipe yields 2 loaf pans, so go ahead and grease 2 different loaf pans and add in a scoop of the batter into each. Now this batter is a little thick and it can be a little tricky to spread around your pan. Don't worry, if you're having trouble, I also had a little trouble too. What I like to do, instead of using a silicone spatula, which can be sticky, I like to grab an offset spatula and a glass of warm water. The warm water helps to melt the dough and it makes spreading things out a little bit easier. Once you have a base layer of the dough, go ahead and add in a handful of the cinnamon and sugar on top of that dough in each of the loaf pans. You'll want to use about 1/4 of the mixture in each pan. Next, we're adding in our final layer of dough. The second layer is even harder to smooth out, but trust me, if you just have a little patience, you'll be fine. And again, use that offset spatula with a little bit of warm water. Then finally, top off that last layer with even more cinnamon and sugar. And then we are popping these into a preheated 350-degree oven to bake for 30 to 34 minutes. Once they're done baking, you should be able to insert a toothpick in the center of the bread and it should come out clean. Once you've allowed it to cool for about an hour, you can finally slice into that and see all of the cinnamon sugar that has baked up into the coffee cake. I can't wait for you to try this recipe. It's one of my family favorites. The full recipe along with tips and tricks will be linked in the description below.